Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Vrajajanarandana Jasodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotara Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace et si Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotara Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaunitai Ki Jai. Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the Samarivatis. All glories to the Samarivatis. All glories to the Samarivatis. All glories to Sri Guru Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastai Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvesesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Skanda, 14th chapter, sloka number 21. Is it? 21, 22, 23. So I shall read the sloka 21 and 22. Is it there? Tam sarvaloka marayagya sangraham trayimayam dravyamayam tapomayam yagyair vichitrair yajato bhavayate Rajan Swadeshan Anurodhum Arhasi. Tam Sarvaloka Marayagya Sangraham Traimayam Dravyamayam Tapomayam Yagyair Vichitrair Yajato Bhavayate Rajan Swadeshan Anurodhumarasi Tam Sarvaloka Marayagya Sangraham Traimayam Dravyamayam Tapomayam Yagyair Vichitrair Yajato Bhavayate Rajan Swadeshan Anurodhumarasi. Sri Sri Gaunitai ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev ki jai. Tam, him, Sarvaloka, in all planets, Amara, with the predominating deities, Yagya, sacrifices, Sangraham, who accepts, Trayimayam, the sum total of the three Vedas, Dravyamayam, the owner of all paraphernalia, Tapamayam, the goal of all austerity, Yagyahi, by sacrifices, Vichitrahi, various, Yajataha, worshipping, Bhavaya, for elevation, Te, your, Rajan, O king, Swadeshan, your countrymen, Anurodhum, to direct, Arhasi, you ought. Translation. Dear King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with the predominating deities, is the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices in all planets. The Supreme Lord is the sum total of the three Vedas, the owner of everything, and the ultimate goal of all austerity. Therefore, your countrymen should engage in performing various sacrifices for your elevation. Indeed, you should always direct them towards the offering of sacrifices. Please repeat. Dear King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with the predominating deities, is the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices in all planets. The Supreme Lord is the sum total of the three Vedas, the owner of everything, and the ultimate goal of all austerity. Therefore, your countrymen should engage in performing various sacrifices for your elevation. Indeed, you should always direct them towards the offering of sacrifices. Sloka number 22. Yagyena yushmad vishaye dvijatibihi Vitayamane sura kalahare Swishta sutushta padishanti vanchitam Tadhelanam narasi viracheshtitum Yagyena yushmad vishaye dvijatibihi Vitayamane sura kalahare Swishta sutushta padisanti vanchitam tadhelanam narasi viracheshtitum yagyena yushmad vishaye dvijatibihi vitayamanena surakalahare swishta sutushta padisanti vanchitam tadhelanam narasi viracheshtitum. Yagyena, by sacrifice, Yushmat, your, Vishaye, in the kingdom, Dvijatibihi, by the Brahmanas, Vitayamanena, being performed, Suraha, all the demigods, Kalaha, expansions, Hare, of the personality of Godhead, Suishtaha, being properly worshipped, Sutushtaha, very much satisfied, Parisanti, will give, Vanchitam, desired result, Tadhelanam, disrespect to them, Na, Arhasi, you ought, Vira, O hero, Cheshtitum, to do. Translation. But when all the Brahmanas engage in performing sacrifices in your kingdom, all the demigods who are plenary expansions of the Lord will be very much satisfied by their activities and will give you your desired result. Therefore, O hero, do not stop the sacrificial performances. If you stop them, you will disrespect the demigods. Please repeat. When all the Brahmanas engage in performing sacrifices in your kingdom, all the demigods who are plenary expansions of the Lord will be very much satisfied by their activities and will give you your desired result. Therefore, O hero, do not stop the sacrificial performances. If you stop them, you will disrespect the demigods. Sloka number 23. Vena uvacha balisa batayu yamba adharme dharmamaninaha ye vrittidam patim hitva jaram patimupasate. Vena uvacha balisa batayu yamba adharme dharmamaninaha ye vrittidam patim hitva jaram patimupasate. Vena uvacha balisa batayu yamba adharme dharmamaninaha ye vrittidam patim hitva jaram patimupasate. Venaha, King Vena, Uvacha, replied, Balisaha, childish, Bata, Ho, Yuyam, all of you, Va, indeed, Adharme, in irreligious principles, Dharma maninaha, accepting as religious, yea, all of you who, Vrittidam, providing maintenance, Patim, husband, Hitva, giving up, Jaram, paramour, Patim, husband, Upasate, worship. Translation. King Vena replied, You are not at all experienced. It is very much regrettable that you are maintaining something which is not religious and are accepting it as religious. Indeed, I think you are giving up your real husband who maintains you and are searching after some paramour to worship. Please repeat. King Vena replied, You are not at all experienced. It is very much regrettable that you are maintaining something which is not religious and are accepting it as religious. Indeed, I think you are giving up your real husband who maintains you and are searching after some paramour to worship. Purport by Zivangles Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. King Vena was so foolish that he accused the saintly sages of being inexperienced like small children. In other words, he was accusing them of not having perfect knowledge. In this way, he could reject their advice and make accusations against them, comparing them to a woman who does not care for her husband, who maintains her, but goes to satisfy a paramour who does not maintain her. The purpose of this simile is apparent. It is a duty of the Kshatriyas to engage the Brahmanas in different types of religious activities. And the king is supposed to be the maintainer of the Brahmanas. If the Brahmanas do not worship the king, but instead go to the demigods, they are as polluted as unchaste women. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Sadakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakam Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesya Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare So as we have seen in this chapter about the story of King Vena, he was a very demoniac king in the history of India, one example of perfect irreligious king who ultimately will be killed. Just like we have the example of Kamsa, who also was equally demoniac. He never cared for any punishment from God. He was only afraid of the 8th child of Devaki. Ultimately, he was killed also. That was predicted. So, any king who behaves in that manner certainly is doomed to failure. So that is here a very good example of King Vena. It is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. His words are, it is said that every word of Bhagavatam is identical with Lord Krishna. So Krishna is having different potencies. So here we see one of Krishna's potency in action, the opposite of the right, the one who is completely wrong. We should know how to distinguish the wrong from the right. So we understand from this discussion how the Brahmanas on one side and Vena on the other side, they represent the right and the wrong. And the demoniac will be eliminated. The Brahmanas were very well determined to correct King Vena, who was so impious. So they tried to preach to him and telling him about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the creator, maintainer, and who has given us all the religious principles so that mankind can be elevated to a higher level of spiritual consciousness, ultimately going back home, back to Godhead. So there is a definite purpose in the creation. It is not that God is only a creator. He is much more than that. So I wanted to read a little bit from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, because here we find in the teachings of Lord Krishna in the 3rd chapter, it's like the basis of the teachings given by the Brahmanas to King Vena. The Brahmanas are telling King Vena, don't stop the yagyas. Yagyas are very important because by engaging the Brahmanas in performing the yagyas, everybody will be benefited. The Brahmanas, the ordinary people, the whole kingdom will be benefited, including you. The king will be certainly the first beneficiary of the yagyas. So the same teachings, the original teachings are given by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And I'd like to read from the 3rd chapter in the sloka number 9. Yagyartat karmanonyatra loko yam karma bandhana. Tadatam karma konteya mukta sangha samachara. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. So here the word yagya, yagyartat, that is very important. What is yagya? It is performing activities for the satisfaction of Lord Krishna. Yagya by Vishnu. And so in the following slokas, Lord Krishna explains further about what is yagya. Saha yagya prajas srichtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyatvam Eshavosh Tishtva Kamadhuk. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." So from the very beginning of creation, Lord Krishna made sure that the inhabitants of this planet, Earth planet, human beings, along with the demigods, will be favorably engaged in performing yajna. So, along with the creation, we think of God as He created all the material elements, so that by combination, the whole world is coming out. And He also put the jivas inside this material world. But no, not only that. That is one aspect of creation. The other aspect is that Lord Krishna wants that all the living entities living in this world should be benefited, and they should ultimately go back home, back to Godhead. So this is a very essential part of creation. The living entities here have forgotten their real relationship with the Lord, and how to revive that relationship by performance of yajna. So as Vena gave order that all yajnas should be stopped, he gave this order to everyone, to all the brahmanas. Nobody should do any yajna. He is directly going against the personality of Godhead, opposing His plan. The plan of the Lord is that everybody should have a chance to go back to the spiritual world. They have come here in a state of oblivion, forgetting their relationship. Yajna vai Vishnu, yagyartad karmanonyatra, loko yam karma bandhana. Everybody should be engaged in yajna. And Vena is going against that, directly against the order of the Supreme Lord. So that is the position of Vena in this way. Then Lord Krishna says that Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavanantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha sriya paramavapsyata. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. So Lord Krishna is giving a lot of respect to the demigods who are His agents or representatives in this material world for the conduct of the world. They are looking after some departments, several departments of the material nature. Without the activities and goodwill of demigods, the natural elements will not function properly, and we shall not be able to live properly. Even from the material angle, it is essential that the demigods should be favorably inclined. Therefore, the yajnas should be performed. The demigods will be happy, and the Supreme Lord will be happy. The Supreme Lord is the first beneficiary. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheswaram surinam sarvabhutanam yadvamam shantim ruchati. The Lord is the primary beneficiary, and the demigods are the secondary beneficiary, and all the living entities are also taking benefit out of this. So just for the sake of maintaining one's body, one should perform yajna, so that all the natural elements will be favorable for our life. Lord Krishna says again, Ishtan bhoga hivodeva dasyante yagyabhavitaha tairdatta napadayabhyo yo bhunte stena eva saha. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, will supply all necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. Here Vena is accusing the Brahmanas to be foolish, childish, no intelligence, no knowledge. But here Lord Krishna is telling that if anyone has no respect for the demigods or for the Supreme Lord, does not engage in yajna, he is a thief. And there's a Srila Prabhupada. I think everybody knows that when Prabhupada was in Mayapur, one life member, a very big industrialist, he was a glass manufacturer. So I came to Mayapur and he met Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is asking him that, what are you doing? So he is telling, I have some glass industries, manufacturing glass. So Prabhupada is asking then, how do you manufacture the glass? Basically, we take sand and water. And by heating the two, mixing the two, heating and binding them together, then we get the glass, polished glass. And then we sell. It's a very big industry. So Prabhupada understood. He has accumulated a lot of riches. He become very wealthy by manufacturing glass, taking the ingredients from nature. So Srila Prabhupada is asking him again, this sand and water you are taking from outside, from nature? Yes, Prabhupada, yes, we are taking. And you are taking, Prabhupada saying, you are taking, but are you paying? Are you giving some gift? This sand and this water you did not manufacture. It is a natural element you find in nature. So somebody has given you. Who are these people? The demigods and the Supreme Lord. They are very kind and they have given you this sand and this water. What are you giving them? What are you doing for them? What in exchange of this gift? What gift are you giving them? Oh no, that's the person, that he could not reply to them. No, I'm just manufacturing the glass and selling it. That's all I'm doing. Nothing more than that. Therefore, Prabhupada said, therefore you are a thief. He was a gentleman, very highly respected gentleman, industrialist from Calcutta. Prabhupada called him directly a thief. You are taking something which does not belong to you, and you are making a profit out of that, and you are not giving back what you have taken. Therefore, you are a thief. And the man, that life member, could not say anything. And Prabhupada is not speaking on his own. This is there in the Bhagavad Gita. Tair dattana pradrayabhyo yo bhunte stena evasa. If anyone takes anything without offering to the demigods and the Supreme Lord, who is the primary creator, he is a thief. Therefore, everyone, especially human beings who have sufficient intelligence, we should understand everything that is available for us in this material world. We are enjoying the resources of nature. We have not manufactured them. Air, water, fire, the earth, all the elements, we have not manufactured them. They have been given to us very with great mercy, and gracefully we have received this gift from the Supreme Lord. So if we are utilizing them and do not put our intelligence, and if we are not offering respect and worshiping the Supreme Lord and engaging ourselves in the service of the Lord as an answer, as a reply to this gift, then we are certainly having a demoniac mentality. We have not understood actually what is the meaning of this world, why we are here. We are here to understand our relationship with Lord Krishna. He has given us everything. If we are not grateful, then certainly we are misusing our intelligence. We do not have any proper knowledge. Then Lord Krishna says, Yagyas ishtasina santo muchante sarvakil bishahi bhunjate te twagam papa ye pachantyatmakaranat. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. So they are the demoniac, those who are non-devotees, they are thieves and they are sinners. Sinners, why? Because they do not acknowledge that this is the property of the Lord. We are using this property for our own pleasure, to maintain ourselves, for enjoyment, selfish enjoyment, and we have no God consciousness. So that is the state of affairs in most of the population, unfortunately. But when the state is ruled by a righteous king, God-conscious king, such as Maharaj Yudhishthir, Maharaj Parikshit, and so on. So many God-conscious kings are there in the history of India. Then the whole population is benefited. The yagyas are done, and the king is encouraging all the brahmanas to preach Krishna consciousness everywhere. Everybody is happy in the situation. The state is flourishing. The state is happy. But if the king is just the opposite, he will suppress. He will say, no more yagya. You close, all the churches should be closed. That was the order in China in the 1920s when the great demon started to rule China. All the churches should be closed. No more going to the church. No more glorifying the Supreme Lord. No more religious studies. No more religious activities and so on. That is the activity. That is one of the main formulas of the communist or atheist rulers, as we have seen in the modern times. And what is the result? All of them were killed, or they had to die early, or they had to give up their properties and kingdoms and so on. That is the result of a demoniac ruler. So, Lord Srila Prabhupada mentions that one should know that all the necessities of life that the human society requires are supplied by the demigod agents of the Lord. No one can manufacture anything. Take, for example, all the eatables of human society. These eatables include grains, fruits, vegetables, milk, sugar, etc. for the persons in the mode of goodness, and also eatables for the non-vegetarians, like meats, none of which can be manufactured by men. Then again, take, for example, heat, light, water, air, which are also necessities of life. None of them can be manufactured by the human society. Without the Supreme Lord, there can be no profuse sunlight, moonlight, rainfall, breeze, etc., without which no one can live. Obviously, our life is dependent on supplies from the Lord. Even for our manufacturing enterprises, we require so many raw materials like metal, sulfur, mercury, manganese, and so many essentials, all of which are supplied by the agents of the Lord, with the purpose that we should make proper use of them to keep ourselves fit and healthy for the purpose of self-realization, leading to the ultimate goal of life, namely liberation from the material struggle for existence. The aim of life is attained by performance of yagyas, and so on, and including the food, as mentioned here by Lord Krishna, that if anyone cooks for himself, not offering the food to Lord Krishna, he is simply eating sin. He is not eating food which is beneficiary. He is actually accelerating the death process. So we should be very attentive to all these teachings, which are very essential. These are the basic principles of religious life or spiritual life. The basis is the aim to be engaged in yagya. In Kali Yuga, yagya is Sankirtan yagya. That is the beginning of spiritual life. One should always be engaged in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In this way, one can make progress in spiritual life, gradually trying to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is our real friend within our heart. We tend to ignore him, but by association with the pure devotees, by hearing from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, in association with devotees, when we develop naturally God consciousness. Vena is not attentive to the teachings of the Brahmanas. Here he had a chance to develop God consciousness in association with the Brahmanas. Unfortunately, because he is a demon, Asuram Bhavamasritaha, Lord Krishna mentioned that these Asuras, they cannot come to me. They, birth after birth, they take birth in demoniac species of life. That is mentioned later on by Lord Krishna. What is the fate of these demons? For them, even though they may hear, but they do not pay attention. They are so much involved in materialistic activities. Their goal of life is material enjoyment. They are completely absorbed in consciousness of the body and false ego. They are very puffed up. They think that they are themselves God. Ultimately, that is their way of thinking. There is nobody superior to me, as though they are calling for the sun and moon and so on. So, The gross materialist thieves have no ultimate goal of life. They are simply directed for sense gratification, nor do they have knowledge of how to perform yajnas. Lord Chaitanya, however, inaugurated the easiest performance of yajna, namely the Sankirtan yajna, which can be performed by anyone in the world who accepts the principles of Krishna consciousness. So sometimes the Sankirtan yajna was also stopped by some of the demoniac governments in some of the countries. And there are many examples of how the devotees of the Lord were tolerant. They were going outside in the street chanting Hare Krishna, Mahamantra, and then the police is stopping them. Why so much noise? Noise pollution, even in Bombay also. They stop our Sankirtan in the name of too much noise pollution. As though there is no noise pollution outside. All the cars, all the lorries and heavy vehicles and even the police vehicles, they are putting their horns and so on. So much noise is there. But they were accusing us to make too much noise by chanting Hare Krishna. So in many other countries. So the devotees are going to the police station. There were some examples of this. And what do they do in the police station? With the kartals, Mridanga, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. They continue the kirtan in the police station. They were not afraid of any sanction or any punishment. They continue their kirtan. So the policemen, the police station in charge, they are thinking, oh no, what is this? Oh no. They cannot stop chanting Hare Krishna. Oh, let them go. We don't want this disturbance. Let them go out. In this way, the devotees were released from police stations on many occasions. And but now it is practically accepted everywhere in the world, even in Russia, in China, and in the Middle East. Still, we have to be careful, but otherwise, the Harinam Sankirtan is going on everywhere by the grace of Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Any other questions or comments? Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And today also an opportunity to understand the system of education presented in the whole world. It is presented through British education, British people's ruling. Two demons, Macaulay and Max Muller, they have stopped this God consciousness education in the whole world. Presently we are seeing, and the results also we are seeing. And in Bhagavad Gita it has been told, second chapter 66, Nasti buddhira yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana, nacha bhavayatah shantira shantasya kutah sukham. So we can see no satisfaction, no happiness, no purity in the whole world. And this iron education is kicking everybody, still going on and being presented by these UNESCO people without hesitation, without regret also they are presenting. And while propagating Bhagavad Gita and other books presented by Prabhupadaji's commentary, they can suggest that this present education, they can remind the present situation of the education and then give the Bhagavad Gita as an answer. This is an answer. So that he presented through whole world to remind this also is a very needed point. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, certainly. That is the objective of Iskcon, to go everywhere and preach the message of Bhagavad Gita, and especially in the educational institutions,
Yes, Prabhuji.
schools and colleges. That is the very most important aspect
Yes.
of our activities. Throughout the world, the devotees of the Lord in the Iskcon society are going to all these institutions and preach the message. So gradually, although it may be a minority, but it is very important that gradually this message should be carried out everywhere. Yes.
And these Muslims and Christians, they are presenting modern education, but along with their spiritual guidance books, Prabhuji. But we are not doing that. That is outside in Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism. They are simply giving education, that's all. No association of spiritual knowledge.
But Srila Prabhupada started a Gurukul system where the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam are part of the curriculum, essential part. So the Krishna conscious life is given to the children also who are enrolled in our Gurukul. So that is also what Prabhupada started.
And also a plus point, recent days, one or two state governments has introduced Bhagavad Gita in education. It's a auspicious sign, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, any other questions? Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.